Hello everyone, welcome to Full Stack Development Online Bootcamp on behalf of TechFerment of Day 1. My name is Raj and I'll be your instructor throughout this online bootcamp. So let me talk about myself. My name is Raj and I'm Google Developer Expert for Web Technology and Firebase, and also I'm leading GDG Jalandhar community in Punjab region. I'm working on various web developer technologies like PWA, Firebase, AMP, Google Cloud Platform, or Chrome Developers Platform. And here we are at TechFerment. So I have started this initiative where I'm providing online tutorials, courses, bootcamp on various developer technologies like Firebase, PWA, Vue.js, Bootstrap, and many more things. So you can check out these video tutorials on the YouTube channel, Twitter, and our website techferment.com. So, like in this day one, I'm going to talk about first a web, like what is a web and how web is working. And the second, we'll talk about the web fundamental. And the third, we are going to talk about the career in web technologies. And last, so we'll give you the overview about this particular bootcamp. What will be the topic? What will be the output of this particular bootcamp? So let's start it. So what is a web? Web is just like as an informational system where where documents or other web resources, you can share this type of web resources through the network. So the document may be like media file, audio file, any other file. So it's an informational system where you can share the documents or any other documents through the network. And do you have any idea how web is or internet is working? So basically, whenever you are accessing an internet, so you are getting an internet from this particular submarine cables. So these are the cables is deployed under the sea, and these cables are connected via the continents and the countries, and you will be able to access the internet through this particular cable. And to know more about submarine cables, so you can check out the map submarinecables.com. So now I'll talk about the basic web fundamental. So first one is website. So website is just like as a collection of web page. Each web page consists of maybe audio file, video file, text file, or any other file. And each website have their specific page, which is also called as entry page. So we can also consider as a home page. And you can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, where HTML provide the structure of your web page, and you can design your web page with the help of CSS cascading style sheet. And the third, like if you want to add some interactive element or if you want to add some content based on the actions, so you can use JavaScript. So as I told you, like we can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now we need to run our web page, so we need a browser. So browser is just like as a software where user can access or display the web page. Okay, and in the market we have a lot of web browsers, like you can use Google Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, or Opera, and many more things. And each browser have their specific rendering engine. So like now I'm going to talk about how web browser is working. So as you know, like we can create a web page with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So whenever we are running our web page with the help of browser, so your HTML, CSS, JavaScript code goes to the rendering engine, and that render your HTML, CSS, JavaScript code into the document object model, and then browser will be able to print the graphical user interface part. So as I told you, like each browser have their specific rendering engine. So if I talk about specifically Google Chrome, so we have a rendering engine name is Blink, and inside Blink we have a separate rendering engine for running your JavaScript code. We have Chrome V8 engine. So similarly, if I talk about Microsoft Edge, so we have a regular rendering engine is Edge HTML, and for JavaScript we have a Chakra. And if I talk about specifically for Safari, so we have WebKit. So it's totally depend on the like the web browser and rendering engine. So now like we can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we can serve or we can check our web page with the help of web browser. And now what I want to do, my website should be or web page should be accessible from n number of locations or n number of devices. So we need a server. So server is basically it's a computer where you can upload your HTML code, maybe CSS code or JavaScript code or any other document, maybe media file, audio file or any other file, and you can access that particular files on the system through the internet. That can be considered as a server. So server is just like as a computer where you can design the system to process the request and deliver the data to the another computer. So basically server is used to serve the data to the browser. So like if I talk about specifically the server part, so as a web developer we have to basically work on the three types of server. So first one is web server. So whenever you are sending or whenever you are accessing a web page over the network, so we are working on a web server part. And when we are accessing a web page over the network, so we have to follow a protocol name is HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. For example, if you are open a website, let's say twitter.com, so we are able to you are accessing a web page of Twitter, so we have a web server. And the second, we have an email server. So whenever you are sending an email or receiving an email over the network, so we have an email server. And then here we have to work on the protocol, let's say SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, or another we have another protocol, POP, post office protocol. And the third, like whenever you are uploading or downloading a file over the network, so we have a FTP server. So it will work on a protocol name is file transfer protocol, FTP. Okay, so now I'll talk about specifically for the web server. So like as a web developer, basically we have to work on the web server part. And web server is basically it's a software or a applications, and basically it will check the file is available or not in their particular system, and it will send that particular file to the client, means the browser. And like in the market, basically you have to work on nginx, like if you are working on node.js, or like if you are working on PHP, so you have to work on Apache server, or if you are working on .NET or C# language, so you have to work on Microsoft IIS, like as a web server. And then this is a summary, like we can create a web page with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and we can check our web page with the help of browser, and each browser have their specific rendering engine that will render your HTML, CSS, JavaScript code into the DOM element, and after that you will be able to see your website. And the third, like if you want your web page to be accessible from different locations or a number of devices, so you need a server where you can upload your HTML, CSS or JavaScript code or whatever the document. So inside server we have three types of server: web server, email server and the file server. So whenever you are working on the web pages, you are accessing a web pages over the network, so we have a web server. Whenever you are sending or receiving a mail over the network, so you have to work on email server part. And then the file server part, like if you are downloading or uploading a file over the network, so you have to work on the file server part. And it's totally depend on the combinations. Let's say if you open a website, let's say gmail.com, so when first you are requesting a web page, so there will be a web server. When you go to the compose button and click on and writing your email and then send an email to your friend, so there will be an email server. Or there's another example, let's say if you open Google Drive, so first you will be accessing a web page of Google Drive, so there will be a web server. And after Google Drive you will create a folder, and inside folder you want to upload a file or download a file, so there will be a FTP server. It's totally based on the problem statement or the use case. And this is a basic client server architecture. Like client as a browser, we are requesting the data, or we are opening a website, let's say twitter.com or google.com. My request goes to the server, and server will check if there is any file there or not. If it is file, so server will respond that particular file or a data to the browser, and browser having a rendering engine that will render your HTML, CSS and JavaScript code into the graphical user interface part, and then you will be able to see the website. So basically server will respond the data. So we have a like there will be a data as well as the status code like 201 or 20x and 30 something or 40x and 50x something. So we'll talk about these particular status code in the part of backend development. Now I'll talk about how to start your career in the web technology. So like you can start your career in web technologies as a front-end developer, back-end developer or full stack developer. So let's say first I'll talk about front-end development part and then we'll talk about back-end and then full stack part. So basically front-end development is also called as client-side development. Basically you have to create a website, you need to design an interface. So look at this slide. So uh, we have a image like where girl is drawing a UI parts. First we have a website and user click on the login button, so there will be a login screen and then user will add their email ID and the password, and when he or she will click on the login button he will be redirected to the dashboard. So basically as a front-end developer you need to design the interface, or you have to create an interface with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And so this is it. And if you want to start your career in the front-end development part, so you should have a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and then you need to deep dive into the framework or libraries. Like first one is Angular, which is this, it's a framework designed by the Google, and the second Vue.js, which Vue.js is also a framework which is also designed by the ex-Googler. And the third we have React. It's not a framework, it's a library which is designed by the Facebook team. And the fourth we have a Bootstrap. So whenever you are creating a mobile responsive website, so you can use Bootstrap for creating a mobile responsive website with the help of Bootstrap UI toolkit. And the second part is backend development. So backend development is also referred to the server side development. So basically you have to work on the web server part and the database part. So you have to write your business logic. Like for example, as a front-end developer, let's say front-end developer design an interface for the login screen. Let's say front-end developer design a screen for the login having a field email and password, and there is a button for the login. So when the user will add their email ID and the password and click on the login button, so basically you have to write this business logic. We have an email ID and the password is there in the database part. If it is there, you need to share the credential or more information about the user. So you have to create a REST APIs and you have to write your custom business logic as a backend developer. So if you want to start your career as a backend developer, you should have a basic knowledge of JavaScript or its a runtime environment name is Node.js. Or if you can also start your career in the web technology as a backend developer as a PHP you can use, or you can also use Python. And if we have alternative frameworks or libraries you can also use, like if you are working on JavaScript or Node.js, so we have a framework Xbase that you can use for creating your REST APIs, or you can write your custom business logic. Or if you're working on Python, so we have a framework like say Django or Flask you can use. And the third, there is another language Ruby. You can also use Ruby language for writing your custom business logic or backend applications. So we have a framework Ruby on Rails. And the fourth one part is like if you are working on PHP, so you can use its framework, let's say Laravel or CodeIgniter. So this is a logo for the Laravel. And as I told you, like as a backend developer we have to work on the database part. So basically you should have a basic experience or understanding level of experience with the MongoDB database and the MySQL database. So MongoDB is an example for the structured unstructured database, and MySQL is an example for structured database. Now then we have a full stack development. So like as I told you, like full stack development is all about the front end. Like if you have a knowledge of front end development and the back end development, you can start your career as a full stack developer. And we have a lot of job opportunities, like you can be a main stack developer, one stack developer, and the third one is meme stack developer. So like there is a changing with the uh, like front end framework where A for Angular, R for React, and V for Vue. Okay, and this will be the agenda for entire this bootcamp. So I have divided this bootcamp into the two part, like front end development, and the second part is back end development. So today, like as in the front end development bootcamp, I'll talk about the web fundamental. So this is a web fundamental basic part, and then day two will talk about HTML, and the day three for the Java CSS, and day four and day five is for the JavaScript part. And then we'll talk about the front-end framework name is Vue.js, and we will create a front-end application with the help of Vue.js and the Firebase, and we will deploy this front-end applications on Firebase. And then we have a mentorship sessions, like if you have any questions you can ask me that questions on that particular time. Similarly for the backend, like we will first will talk about the client side and server side rendering, and then we'll deep dive into the JavaScript and Node.js part, and then we'll go to the Node.js, Express, API development, deploying your backend logic, or you can create a project based on backend technologies like Node, JavaScript, and Node.js. Okay. So to check out the web developer bootcamp, online bootcamp, see there is a website. You can check out techferment.com/bootcamp. You will get the more information about the online bootcamp. And thank you for today, and see you in the next video.